Good morning, my dear students. Welcome again. Let's complete Module 1, page 13. And this time we are going to speak about the present simple tense. If we are going to speak about the present simple tense or any tense, we should learn three important things: the usage, how to use it, the keywords, time expressions that refers to that tense, and finally how to form the verb in that tense. Let's start. The usage of the present simple. We use the present simple to talk about actions that happen repeatedly or frequently, something you repeat, you do as a routine. Like what? For example, I go to the club every Friday, so it's a repeated action. Another usage, to talk about facts, something never changed. Like what? Water boils at 100 Celsius. If you heat water on a cooker, when it reaches 100 Celsius, it must boil. It must boil. So it's a fact. There's no doubt in that. Okay, this is the usage of the present simple tense. What about the key structure? The keywords or expression time that if I find them in a sentence, I should use the present simple form. We use the adverbs of frequency like always, usually, often, sometimes, never, every day, every week, every month, every evening, every year, every summer, and so on. Any time expression consists of every and a time period. And also we use the present simple with expressions like in the morning, in the afternoon, and in the evening. So this is the usage and the keywords. What about the form? How can I form a verb in the present simple tense? If I start my sentence with he, she, it, I should use the verb but. Add s, es, or ies at the end of that verb. This is when I use he or she or it or any singular noun. Instead of he, I can say Rami. Instead of she, I can say Sarah, the cat. Instead of it, if I find he or she or it or any singular noun, I use the verb ends with s, es, or ies. The second form, if I start my sentence with I, we, you, they, so I use the verb in the base form. What is the base form? We don't add anything to the verb. We don't add s, es, or is, ing, ed. We never add anything. This is the base or stem verb. Stem verb or stem form is the verb with no addition. Okay? How to add the verb ses, ies? I have a rule. I should use to differentiate between the ses, ies additions. How? I will tell you. Number one, to make the third person singular, he or she or it, or any singular noun, of most verbs in the present simple, we add s. Most of the verbs take s. But if the subject is he, she, it, or singular noun, like what? For example, ask, asks, read, reads, run, runs, write, writes. So here we add s. But if we start the sentence with he, she, or it. Okay, another one to take care of. Verbs end with the vowel plus y. If the verb ends with y, it's very important to focus on that. If I have a verb ends with y, look before the y letter or y sound. If you found a vowel, add only s. Like what? Play, plays. There is y, but before it, a. Is it a vowel or a consonant? Vowel. What are the vowels? A, E, I, O, U sounds. These are the vowels. If I find one of these before Y, we only add S. We never change Y. Another example is stay. Y before it A, stays. We only add S. Another one, number 3. Verbs that ends with Y but before the Y consonant sound. Y before it consonant sound. What should I do? Look at here. We change Y into I and then add ES. So the final will be IES. Like what? The first example is study. If you look at the verb study, it ends with Y before it D. Is it a vowel? No. So we must drop Y, add IES. Studies. Another example. Tidy ends with Y before it D. Is it a vowel? No. So remove Y, add IES. So if we start the sentence with he or she or it, then you should be careful about these spelling rules. If we start with he or she or it, we can add S, ES, IES, and this is according to the end of the verb. Another one, and the final one for spelling rules, adding ES. We add ES to the verb that ends with these sounds. If it ends with O, S, CH, double S, SH, or X. If I started a sentence with he or she or it, and the verb ends with these ends, we add ES. Pass ends with, yes, double S. Passes, we add ES. Focus ends with S, that's right. Focuses, we add ES. Fix ends with X, fixes, we add ES. Watch ends with CH, watches, we add ES. Wash ends with sh sound, SH, washes. And finally, go, goes. The verb ends with O, so we add ES. Let's practice. If you read these sentences, you should use the suitable form of the verb. Number 1, I space to school. We want you to use walk. According to the present simple, I can use walk or walks. That's right. I start with I, that's right. Can I say I walk or walks? It's right. I walk. We never say I walks. That's right. Number 1. You read the newspaper every morning. I want you to use read. Think about it. Can I say you read or reads? Excellent. You never takes the verb with S. So the answer is you read the newspaper every morning. Number 3. We space our homework before lunch. I want you to use right. Is it correct to say we write or writes? Very clever. We should say we write, because there's no he or she or it to use right. So we write our homework before lunch. Number 4, they space at the back of the class. I want you to use sit. The answer is they sit at the back of class. We can't say they sits because they doesn't take the verb ends with S. He swim or swims in the swimming pool. Very clever. We should say he swims. Here we start the sentence with he, and if we start with he, she, it, we should use the verb ends with S, ES, IES. And swim, according to the spelling rules, should have or take S at the end. The students space many exercises every day. Use right. Very clever. Students is plural, so we should use right. We can't use rights. Number 7, she space tennis on Fridays. Every Friday she plays. That's right. We start with she, and she takes the verb with s. Be careful. We add s or drop y and add ies. We should add s only, because the y preceded by a vowel. Amr and Ali space to school every day. I want you to use walk. Amr and Ali are more than one, they are plural. Excellent, they take walk. We can't say Amr and Ali walks to school. The right answer is Amr and Ali walk to school every day. Number 9. Eat space milk in the morning. Eat space milk in the morning. Drink or drinks? Very clever. It drinks, because it takes the verb ends with is. The final one, number 10. Soha space her breakfast every morning. And that's right, we should use Soha eats breakfast every morning, because Soha is singular noun and takes the verb with s. Let's move to another point. Now, the negative form. How to change affirmative form of the present simple into a negative form. It's so easy. If we look at the form of the present simple, we will find that we have a form ends with s and another stem form. The form with s takes doesn't. We put doesn't before that form. It's a form which is base. We put don't before the verb to make it or change it into negative. Examples. He plays tennis. Let's change it into negative. Yes, plays ends with s. So he does not play tennis. I can say he does not play tennis or he doesn't play tennis. Be careful about what happened to the verb. It was plays and now we change it into play because we put doesn't before it. Another example. They watch TV in the evening. The verb is watch. It's a base form, so we should use don't before it. They don't watch TV in the evening. Let's practice. Change into negative. Nada likes fish. Think about it. The verb here ends with s. So, should I use don't or doesn't before the verb? Very clever. We should use doesn't and change the verb into base form. So, the answer is Nada doesn't like fish. Number 2. A doctor works in a school. Does a doctor work in a school? No. So, we should change it into negative. A doctor doesn't work in a school. Number 3, we love animals. Let's change it into negative. The verb is love. It's base form. We don't love animals. This is about the negative form. Let's move to the questions. Yes, no questions or WH question. If we want to make a sentence a question or change a sentence into a question in the present simple, we should start our sentence with does or do. This is according to the form of the verb or the subject. If we have he or she or it, we should use does. If we have I, you, they, we or any plural, we should start with do. Okay, let's see the examples. Number 1, does he play tennis? Does he play tennis? The answer is yes, he plays tennis. Another one, do you help mom at home? The answer is yes, I help mom at home. Be careful, here we use does because the subject is he. In the second example, we use do because the subject is you. Let's practice. Let's make questions to these sentences. Number 1. Yes, Noura goes to bed early. What is the question for this sentence? The verb here goes. Should I start with do or does? Very clever. Here we should start with does. So the question is, does Noura go to bed early? Number 2. Yes, they help the poor people. Focus on the verb, it's help. So I should start my question with do. The question will be, do they help the poor people? Number 3. Yes, she speaks English well. Focus on the verb, speaks. Should I start with do or does? Very clever. I should start with does because I have she and speaks. So the question should be, does she speak? We should remove or drop S because we started with does. Does she speak English well? Final one. No, Ali doesn't wake up early. Change it into a question. Does Ali wake up early? Let's move to another point, and this point is the WH question. We start our question with a WH word, and after the WH word we should use do or does according to the subject too, like yes no questions. For example, Sally goes to bed at 10 o'clock. Here we should ask about the time, and if we speak about a specific time like the clock time, we use what time. So what time is a WH word, and the verb goes, so we should use does. So what time does Sally go to bed? Be careful when you use does. We use does, and after we using that, we use does, we change the verb into stem form. We remove ses or ies. Number 2, she buys a lot of food. We should ask with what? What does she buy? Another one, we visit the zoo every Friday. Here the question should start with how often. How often do, because we have visit, you visit the zoo. How often do you visit the zoo? Final one, I run to school because I am late. If we have because, we should start our question with why as a WH word. So why do you run to school? The final point about the present simple adverbs of frequency or present simple tense is using the adverb of frequency. If we use always, that means I do this thing 100%. I do it every day or daily. It's repeated all times. Like they always play computer games. They do that daily or every day. If we use usually, that means we do that 80%. If we speak about the days of the week, we can use do that 5 or 6 times a week. I usually go to a friend's house. Often, about 60%, like we often go to the bar. If we go to the bar 4 days a week, it's something we do often. Sometimes something you repeat, but day after day, not every day. Like we sometimes listen to music. We don't do that every day, but we do it a day and another day we don't do it. Never means you don't do that at all. We never read books. Be careful about these words. We put them before the verb. The verb here play, so always play. The verb go, usually go. The verb go, often go. The verb listen, sometimes listen. The verb read, never read. So we use these adverbs before the verb. we use the adverb of frequency after don't and doesn't. For example, she doesn't always go to bed. Do you usually go to the park? Let's complete using these adverbs of frequency. Peter space listens to music, and the answer is sometimes, according to the 50%. Dave space plays basketball in the park. Very clever, always, because he does this 100%. I space buy magazines. It's 0%, so I should use never. I never buy magazines. We space watch TV on Fridays, so it's 60%. And what is 60% is often. So we often watch TV on Friday. They space go out with friends on Saturday evening. It's 100%. So I should use always. They always go out with friends on Saturday evening. Number 6. Adam space reads comics. 50%. Adam sometimes read comics. The final one, my sister space drinks milk for breakfast, and it's 80%, so I should use usually. My sister usually drinks milk for breakfast. The final point is we should use these words, adverb of frequency, before the main verb. Thank you. See you next time.